prediction of cancer given by different organizations from 2020 to 2040. In India, cancer is currently the third or the fourth cause of premature mortality. Processed meat is a proven risk factor for colon cancer, but if you add enough legumes and beans in your food, colon cancer will not happen at all. The phytoestrogens present in the lignans of the flax seeds and the soya beans prevents breast cancer. A study showed that consumption of 18 grams of mushrooms every day will decrease the risk of cancer by 45%.
The next speaker is Dr. Nambiraj Konar. Currently, he is consultant and head Department of Anesthesia and Pain Medicine at HCG Hospital, Colaba. Please continue with your talk on cancer and food science.
Thank you for the introduction. This is a disclaimer that I am not an oncologist and I am speaking on cancer. But I am an onco-anesthetist practicing onco-anesthesia since last 15 years and have seen the care that is given to the patient and the agony that the patient goes through during the treatment and towards the end. Now, a simple definition of cancer: it is a disease of cells, an uncontrolled division of abnormal cells in any part of the body will be labeled as cancer. Going to the incidence of cancer worldwide, the globe is painted in different colors. The darkest shows the highest incidence here and the lightest shows the lowest incidence. So Australia and USA with the highest incidence of cancer currently, followed by Russia and South America, followed by India stands somewhere in the fourth rank. This is the overall mortality caused because of premature mortality because of cancer. Here also again, as expected, Australia and USA stands at the top. In India, cancer is currently the third or the fourth cause of premature mortality. This is the slide that should make us worry a lot. Prediction of cancer given by different organizations from 2020 to 2040. Till now, it was believed that cancer is a disease of developed society. But do you see these numbers? On the x-axis, we have Human Development Index, and on the y-axis, we have the number of cancer or the incidence of cancer. And by 2040, we are expecting that the low income countries will be having the incidence rise by 95%. And the middle income countries, the incidence rise will be by 64%. So the overall incidence rise will be by 50%, and the mortality by 2040 will rise by 60% because of cancer. Because it is a disease of cells, let's go back to the biology and learn about the cell cycle. Cell cycle can be basically divided into 4 phases: the G1 and the G2 phase, and interspersed between them is the synthetic phase and the mitotic phase. At each of these 4 phases, actually 3 phases, there's a checkpoint that if at all something goes wrong during the process, the cell cycle will be kind of stalled there and no more division will occur. So at the end of G1 we have a checkpoint, at the end of G2 we have a checkpoint, and at the end of mitotic phase also we have a checkpoint, to make sure that there are not many abnormal cells going out. There are about 30 trillion cells in our human body. Each one of us are having about 30 to 40 trillion cells, and when this process is happening in each cell, about 10,000 to 1 lakh times the DNA damage occurs spontaneously in our body, and still most of us till now are not having cancer. That is again because of our immunity. Some cells evades the process of checkpoint and becomes abnormal and are in the circulation. Then what happens to such abnormal cells? We will try and take this analogy of these abnormal cells as a car, okay, and in the driver's seat will be the nucleus of the cell, and of course there is a car, we should have a brake and an accelerator. The brake here will be the tumor suppressor gene, and the accelerator will be a proto-oncogene or an oncogene, okay. If these abnormal cells, the tumor suppressor gene is very active, then also these abnormal cells will not go further and divide, and the division will be abruptly stopped there. But if the oncogene becomes more active here, then this becomes this car becomes a mad car and rides or is seen in the road driving at a rapid pace. While it is going on the road, it might encounter a toll plaza somewhere. That toll plaza in our body is different lymph nodes, and in the lymph nodes there will be CD8 T cells to take care of these abnormal cells, and they will finish it off. And even if here also it escapes, then there will be some police patrolling cars moving around on the road, and these patrolling cars are nothing but the natural killer cells in our human body. The natural killer cells will catch hold of these abnormal cells, introduce some proteins called as perforins. Perforins will disrupt the cell membrane, and these abnormal cells will come to an end. So these are the kind of protective mechanisms that we have to prevent cancer from happening. In spite of all this, if that abnormal cells happen to grow, then we will have something called as a disease, cancer. Now these are the hallmarks of cancer cells, about 10 in number, and I will not go into the details of each of this, but we all know that abnormal cells, cancer cells, have the ability to invade and metastasize to different organs. Inflammation is one of the many researchers believe that it is one of the inflammatory microenvironment is the prerequisite for cancer cells to grow. It replicates at a rapid rate, and in order to grow at a rapid rate, it will require the nutrition, and for the nutrition, it induces something called as angiogenesis or new blood vessel formation, and it evades the immune destruction at multiple levels. There is cell death resistance, apoptosis doesn't occur, doesn't help here, and it evades the growth suppressors also. Biological mechanisms for different chronic diseases, including cancer. Chronic inflammation, microbiome, we all know what it is, sympathetic overstimulation, oxidative stress, angiogenesis, sluggish blood flow, and the shortening of telomeres. Can cancer be really prevented with foods? Now, these are the cruciferous vegetables, and it has anti-inflammatory property, it has anti-angiogenic property, it has a positive effect on the microbiome, it helps to grow the healthy microbiome, it has a positive effect on the oxidative stress, or it is a strong antioxidant, to say so. But the catch is that there is a chemical called as isothiocyanates in the cruciferous vegetables, but this isothiocyanates should be converted into sulforaphane, which is the active moiety as far as cancer and inflammation is concerned. Now, for the sulforaphane, the active moiety, to be produced, we require an enzyme called as myrosinase. This enzyme is present in the cruciferous vegetables, but it is intracellular. And when we cook our food, this myrosinase, all the enzymes are heat sensitive. Myrosinase is no exception. Myrosinase is heat sensitive and it gets destructed. Therefore, the active moiety sulforaphane never comes into picture. So what we have to do is, when we cook our cruciferous vegetables, may it be any sabji, sprinkle some mustard powders, freshly ground mustard powders, because mustard also happens to be from the cruciferous vegetables group. And when you crush it, the intracellular myrosinase will come out. And if after cooking the food, at the end, if you sprinkle the mustards, it will have myrosinase there, and the active moiety sulforaphane will be readily available. Coming to the next magic vegetable, mushrooms. This time again anti-inflammatory, anti-angiogenic. Apart from the microbiome role, it and anti-inflammatory role, it enhances the natural killer cell activity, the patrolling vehicle that we saw. It has an aromatase inhibitor effect. The drug tamoxifen used in breast cancer is also an aromatase inhibitor. Okay, when we can have aromatase inhibitor in our vegetables, why not? It is low in calories, so it will help us to manage the manage the weight also. A study showed that consumption of 18 grams of mushrooms every day will decrease the risk of cancer by 45%. The next one in the list is legumes and beans. Apart from the dietary fibers, it is rich in resistant starch. This resistant starch, we call it resistant because it is not absorbed, it remains in the gut itself. And once it goes from the small intestine towards the large intestine, our gut flora or the microbiome will act on this resistant starch, and it will produce something called as short chain fatty acids, namely butyrate. The butyrate is anti-inflammatory and therefore it is anti-cancerous, especially for colon cancers. We all know that processed meat is a proven risk factor for colon cancer, but if you add enough legumes and beans in your food, colon cancer will not happen at all. These are flax seeds and soybean. The phytoestrogens present in the lignans of the flax seeds and the soybeans prevents breast cancer. Phyto means plant, estrogen means it mimics the estrogen in structure. Now, although it mimics the estrogen in structure, its efficacy as an estrogen hormone is not much. Therefore, it occupies the receptor for estrogen, but the action is not like that. Estrogen is a known, proven cancerous hormone. This is how it helps in decreasing the risk of hormone sensitive cancers like breast cancer and prostate cancer. More than just fibers, it has phytoestrogens. We spoke about resistant starch. We spoke about antioxidants. We spoke about lignans. Along with all those things, there are trace elements like copper, selenium, and zinc also in your whole grains. Therefore, again, it is cancer protective. The garlic and the onions, it has a compound called as allicin, which is the active moiety here, or maybe not, because this allicin has to be converted into a compound called as alidine, and that alidine has anti-cancerous and other benefits. Allicin gets converted into alidine in the presence of trypsin, which is present in your saliva. So, and all again, the picture is repeated and again, that when we cook the onions and the garlics, allicin might not be available at that much quantity. Therefore, the raw onions, raw garlics will be more helpful, and you have to chew it to mix it with trypsin to produce alidine. Alidine has multiple effects on cancer. It increases the apoptosis. It inhibits the proliferation of the cancerous cells. It is anti-angiogenic. It is anti-metastatic too. Coming to the turmeric. Turmeric has a compound called as curcumin. And curcumin's bioavailability will be increased if you add a pinch of pepper in that. Okay. So next time onwards, whenever you use turmeric in your food, try not to forget the pepper, because pepper will increase the bioavailability of curcumin. Tomatoes rich in lycopenes. Positive effect on microbiomes, negative effect on the oxidative stress and the angiogenesis. Along with lycopene, it will give us other trace compounds like quercetin and tomatin. We usually say raw is better, but when it comes to tomato, lycopene's bioavailability will be increased if it is cooked. Therefore, sometimes it helps to cook also. Berries. There's a lot of talk around berries, and blueberries, cranberries, these all increase the natural killer cell activity. But we get carried away with this Western culture. Most of the studies are done in West, therefore they talk more about blueberries, they talk more about broccolis. Broccoli's cost in India has gone to sky high. It is more than 350 rupees per kg. But your cabbage and cauliflower will also have an equal effect. We can keep talking for the next 2-3 hours and the list will not get over. So rather than getting carried away, we should include as many colors of vegetables as possible in our food, and therefore the benefits will directly come to us. American Institute for Cancer Research has been doing research on all the lifestyle aspects in cancer for last 4 decades. You can go to the website and see the details about how to prevent cancer. Thank you.